Guys, I'm going to a con, but I don't know who to cosplay as. Do I go for the middle-aged dad who can't catch a break look, or do I go for the washed-up idol with a fentanyl addiction? I guess we're going with this.
Anime conventions. Don't you love them? They're loud, they're smelly, they reek of gamer sweat, they have diseases spreading about, they're loud. Real talk, I've always loved conventions. They've always been some sort of a spot for socially awkward saps like myself to sink in. Being around people who share the same hobbies as you can feel vindicating, knowing that you're not weird for liking the things that you like. Sometimes. I'm pretty fortunate enough to grow up in a generation where people are generally way more accepting of others' hobbies. In my case, it's video games and anime. I can't imagine being a weeb if I was born earlier. I'd probably get jumped for daring to even like Cowboy Bebop. And even in those old conventions, I'd still get jumped by glompers and yaoi paddlers. World War II looks tamer than mid-2000s anime conventions. Where was the security in these? Exaggeration aside, these look like an absolute vibe. A lot of these golden age era anime were in circulation around that time, like Haruhi Suzumiya or Death Note. Back then, you'd get bullied for acting like a clown in a light Yagami cosplay, but now, you'd still get clowned but on TikTok instead. However, over the years, anime has gotten way more mainstream, and thankfully cons have been a lot safer to go to. Since about 2018, I've been to my fair share of cons myself. I lived in Las Vegas my whole life. We got everything here. Sports, casinos, prostitution, everything. Conventions happen every couple of months or so. I'll take any opportunity to attend one, even after this post-super disease world. Before 2023, I'd never really been to any out of my country, let alone my city. Those horror stories of Reddit or Discord meetups always discouraged me to go, but do you really blame me? It's Reddit and Discord. In 2023, I was lucky enough to go to one of the largest cons in the world, Anime Expo. Big cons like these always have the coolest merch and guests roaming about, and it would probably be the only time where I could even stand going to California. Have you seen their gas prices? That's not normal. The big ones in my neck of the woods are Level Up, Sin City Anime, and Las Vegas Comic Con, and all of them are pretty fun. The turn up is always big for these three, and though I didn't attend Level Up last year, it's always fun to go to larger cons. I put all of my focus into prepping for AX though. I wanted to get the coolest merch and maybe make a couple friends here and there, and hell, it was my first real-time cosplaying. I was Hatsune Miku. I hope you can tell. Speaking of, I've always wanted to get into proper cosplay. Maybe in a past life, I would have gotten a documentary made about my godlike cosplays and my crippling nicotine addiction, but hey, a start is a start. For real though, these cosplays can get very elaborate. They're so intricate and nail every detail of a character down, even to the last strand of hair. Definitely jealous of their craftsmanship, not their bank account however. But hey, you don't need to go all out like that when you cosplay. Just as long as you got the spirit and a couple of bucks to spend on Amazon, anyone can be a cosplayer. It all comes down to confidence. You may not have the best costume in the world, but the fact that you got out there and dressed up speaks more volumes than anything. The main draw of conventions to a lot of people are the panels, and to be honest, I don't really go to them. The only ones I ever really go to are the cosplay contests, maybe a guest that'll interest me, and a fighting game tournament if that counts. That's not to say that the guests that do come here aren't lame or not cool. That's not the case. But personally speaking, I don't go out of my way to attend panels because, well, I don't know them. When a guest does pique my interest, however, I'll make sure to at least check their booth out. There'll be a voice actor here or an influencer there, and they'll do a fan signing in said booth. One of the coolest little trinkets I have here is this Persona 5 Funko Pop with the voice actors of Joker and Ann's signatures. I'm not a Funko guy at all, but hey, I'll make this one exception. My goal is to have all the main cast of the game sign this thing. That'll be my biggest flex as a virgin. Persona 5 is in my top 3 bitchin' games list, so I gotta honor that somehow. And on the off chance that I do acquire all the signatures, I at least got an emergency profit bomb here. Digging a little deeper, all of the prints in the artist's alley are a true sight to behold. This is always my favorite part of a con. It's a collage of cutie and degeneracy all in one frame, sometimes side by side. Artists need to get their money up too, man. They didn't make all this art just for you to repost it without credit, so I always try to buy from these. And if I don't, I at least pick their business card up. Pricey, yeah, but you're supporting local artists, so don't be afraid to get anything. And finally, what takes up 90% of a con? All of the merch of your favorite things. And they're all overpriced. But god damn it, I want that plushie! The only merch I really buy are figures, and at Anime Expo I definitely went ham. The weird thing with merch and cons is that the prices can either be a bargain or jacked way the hell up. This Persona fig I bought was significantly cheaper than what it goes for online, so I scooped that up. But something like this Mythios Miku figure was going for damn near $1,000, god damn! You can get this thing online for... Okay, that's not much better, but still. So, that's a typical day at a con for me. Whenever I'm not too busy almost getting astral worlded by the crowd, I love roaming around and loitering here. Geeking out over the little things while others are too is really comforting to me for some reason. I love meeting and talking to new weebs here, whether it's 2 or 10. And I'm privileged enough to have never experienced judgment of any kind growing up. Maybe I'm too ignorant to even care, but it does feel cool seeing others at a con enjoy themselves and get comfortable in their own skin. Just try not to be too comfortable.
Now, I've attended enough cons to call myself an expert by now, so I think I'm qualified to give a guide on these things. See, I may have not experienced judgment myself, but that doesn't stop me from judging you weirdos. So, this is a little segment I like to call the do's and don'ts of anime conventions. Because the people I share hobbies with don't know how to do shit.
Let's start off with hygiene. Do it. All of it. Wash your damn cheeks and wear some deodorant. You don't gotta smell like rosemary or anything, but if you stick out and you smell like ass, then do everyone a favor, rent out a hotel room, take a shower, and give the key back to the front desk. If you can afford some anime merch, you can definitely afford a bottle of Head and Shoulders. Take other people's experiences in mind, and don't be like that one stereotypical Smash Brothers fan, okay? Oh god, especially not like that. The next thing you want to check is your budget. Do you have enough money to pay a rent, or do you have enough space for that one Xenoblade figure you always wanted?
Yeah.
Cons can get pretty pricey, so make sure you budget correctly by taking the max of your checking account, dividing it by 2, multiplying by 2 again, and bam, budget. Remember to never buy food at a con though. You're gonna do a lot of walking, so I'd recommend eating before you go. You're paying $8 for a slice of pizza here. Costco has a whole pizza for $9, do the math. And on a note of budgeting, don't steal from any of the vendors here. Yeah, some of this merchandise isn't the cheapest stuff in the world, I get that. But most of these vendors at a con are small businesses, and they have to get this weeb shit out somehow. Artists especially have it the worst. They're all just young adults trying to get their name out and make money in an industry notorious for underpaying. Stealing from artists is like stealing bread from a homeless guy. Just don't do it, man. So, you got your wallet, but what about the other supplies you need? I mean, water isn't a bad idea. Most cons allow for refillable water bottles now, and in the summer, that's pretty much essential. If you're hella thirsty and you don't have a water bottle on you, just suck it up and pay for that $6 water, man. And if you're gonna be talking to people a lot, maybe some gun to freshen up your breath and a mask if you feel safer wearing one. Or if you're covering your masculine jawline to cosplay a female character. I should have worn one. It may not seem like it, but I'm a pretty shy and introverted person. I'm usually with my friends or with my partner at a con, but conventions are a great place to meet people and make new friends, and I've done that in spades. Cosplayers would be honored to take photos with you too. Do get out there and meet some people. You may find some new lifelong drinking buddies to hang out with. Just respect other people's boundaries. This is probably the most important point I'll make. Just because you're at a place with everyone that shares a common interest, you're not in anime land. Don't be a creep. There are a lot of people that go to cons, and just because your wife came to life doesn't give you the right to act like a weirdo towards them. What can be a funny haha to you can be downright harassment to them. This type of stuff happens at bigger cons where people just don't know how to keep their hands to themselves. The introverted me would fucking hate it if someone came up to me and put their hands on my shoulder, and that's just the bare minimum. At least ask, man. Speaking of cosplayers though, clean up your costumes before you go. I know a good majority of you bought a cheap cosplay from Amazon, and that sweatshop stench smells a lot worse if you aren't hygienic. So do yourself a favor and check your costumes first. If you have a prop, please make sure that shit is out of the way. Please. The number of times I've almost tripped over Cloud's big ass buster sword or someone's comically large cape. Cool costume, don't get me wrong, but I'm not trying to get spiked at a con, Christ. But overall, my convention experiences have always been positive. I've never had something major ruin my day at a con, nor was I ever fearful of going to the next one. A lot of people tell these stories about the shitty things that go on at cons, and don't get me wrong, those things can happen. But in the 1% chance they do, remember that most people are simply trying to enjoy themselves. Just as long as you're with a group of losers like you can be the happiest group of losers in the world for that moment.
Attending an anime convention is one thing, but surviving them is another, and hopefully you get to learn a thing or two from my experiences and... Ah, shit, I'm running late. I'll be back, guys. That was not an anime convention, that was a pride parade.
Where are all the JoJo figures at?